Bonjour, it's Bonkibi and welcome to this new tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to create this rays of light bouncing around your lettering on Procreate. I've done this tutorial especially for those who want to create a lettering animation for the first time. I'm going to show you a simple process so that you'll be able easily to get the same result as me. You can find timestamps of this tutorial below this video. So, let's get started. I'm going to use a square canvas which is 2048 by 2048 at 72 dpi. Firstly, I choose the color of my background. I tap on Layers panel, then on the background color layer. I'm going to use this light orange color for my background. If you want to use the same color as me, tap on Value, then copy the code right next to hexadecimal. I'm going to use only one color for both my lettering and my sun rays to keep it simple, and I choose this bright orange color. Now I'm ready to draw my lettering. I use the tinderbox brush, which is in inking category. I like this crispy outline. When my lettering is done, I tap on Transform tool and put my lettering in the center of my canvas. I'm going to use this first lettering as a guide to create a second version. To do so, I tap on Layers panel and tap with two fingers on my lettering layer. A light blue bar becomes visible above my canvas. I slide to the left to decrease the opacity to 50%. I create a new layer, I grab the tinderbox brush and I redraw my lettering. Then I go back to my Layers panel, tap with two fingers just like earlier to make the blue bar pop up, and I slide to the right to adjust my opacity to 100%. Now I'm ready to enable the Animation Assist tool. To do so, I tap on the Actions panel at the top left-hand corner of my screen and tap on Animation Assist. You can see that the Animation Assist panel revealed itself at the bottom of my screen. I tap on Settings and slide to the left to 4 frames per second. And now I hit Play button. Congrats, this is your first lettering animation. I decrease the speed of my animation to 4 frames per second because, as you can see, at 15 frames it's too fast. I'm going to pause now to talk more about the animation panel. So if you are already familiar with the Animation Assist panel, you can skip this part and go directly to the part when I talk about how to add rays of light. And if you want to dive in the Animation Assist panel to learn more about it, let's go. Tap on Settings, then slide on your skin frames to None. We are going to look at these settings later. As you can see in the Animation Assist panel, we have 2 frames, one for the first lettering and another one for the second lettering. Each frame corresponds to each layer or group of layers. As you can see, if I hide my first layer, the first frame vanished. If I create a group of layers, all the layers from this group correspond to 1 frame. As you can see, the second lettering on those rays of lights appear at the same moment. I can also change how my frames are organized. If I choose to pick the second frame and place to the left, you can see that the second lettering is visible first. This means that my frames are organized from left to right. And if I open my Layers panel, you can see that my second lettering is now at the bottom. This means that my layers are now organized from the bottom to the top. For example, if I grab my second lettering and put it at the top, you can see that the Animation Assist panel, it appears in the second place. Now let's talk about onion skins. As you know now, with the Animation Assist, we can only see 1 frame at a time. Onion skin is a guide to see how the other frames are. Let's create a new frame. We have 2 options. We can create a new layer or click here to add a new frame. Tap on Settings and add one screen frame. As you can see, my second lettering is visible. I can lower the opacity with the onion skin settings to use it as a guide for my third sunshine. So one frame onion skins allow us to see one frame before and one frame after. For example, if I'm on frame 2, I can see the first frame and the third frame. If I add 2 onion skin frames, it means that I can see 2 frames after my current frame and 2 frames before. If I tap on my first frame, I see that only frame 2 appears with low opacity. But when I change to 2 onion skin frames, the third one is now visible. Same thing if I'm on the third frame, I can see frame 1 and 2 at low opacity. If I use the onion skin option and it's difficult for me to recognize my current frame with those before and after, I can enable color secondary frames. Here, for example, I know that all my previous frames are going to appear red and all the next frame is going to appear green. And that's it for the onion skin. We are going to look now at these settings for the play button itself because until now it was on loop mode. It means it plays indefinitely until I tap pause. If I want to play it only one time, I switch to one shot. And the last one is ping pong. As indicated by his name, it plays normally and reverse indefinitely. Just like a boomerang also. So 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3. Lastly, we are going to look at frame options. I tap on my first frame and drag hold duration. As we can see, it allows the frame to stay longer on screen. It copies my frame. I can do the same thing by duplicate my layer 3 times. The last setting I can change is the background and foreground mode. The background option is only available on the first frame. It doesn't show in the second frame, for example. It means that this frame is visible every time below all the other layers. And if I click on the last frame, I can enable foreground. It's the same thing as background, but this one is going to become visible every time above all the other layers. And for both background and foreground mode, I can't change their place on the Animation Assist panel, not even in my layer panel. Voila, we saw a lot of settings from the Animation Assist tool. Now let's add rays of sunshine. I'm going to let my first frame as background and erase the other ones. Let's create a new frame. I tap on the frame and enable foreground. I grab the 6B pencil and pick a different color just as a visual cue that is my guide. I'm going to create shape of where I'm going to place my rays with 2 ellipses and 2 lines. For the 2 ellipses, I create an oval and hold a moment. The ellipse is created and above my canvas, the button Edit Shapes pops up. I tap on ellipse if it's not already on. And we can see 4 blue dots visible. It allows me to change the shape of my ellipse by dragging them. So I change the shape of my first ellipse like this. And the second one taller but less wide. For the 2 lines, I follow the same process. I create a line and hold a moment. Tap on Edit Shape and drag this one like this. And the second one just like a mirror. Now I'm going to erase almost everything to create arcs. These 2 arcs correspond at where my rays of light will be. Now I fill those arcs with lines. I create a new layer and group it with each arc's layer. Each line will correspond to a ray of light. It doesn't have to be separated exactly at the same distance. You just have to be sure to create them on the same direction. Now that my lines are created, I need to give them away. So I'm going to alternate for each line in which way they go. Voila, my guide is ready. I just have to tap on my layer with 2 fingers and decrease the opacity by sliding to the left to 20%. And hide the arc's guide now. Let's add a new frame to create rays of sunshine. I make sure to grab my tinderbox brush with my orange color. I zoom in one of my arcs. For each arrow towards my lettering, I'm creating a line. And for each arrow in the opposite way, I create a dot. I create a new frame. I make sure the onion skin is set to 1. The animation consists to transform each line in a dot and each dot in a line. So for example, for this line, I'm reducing it a little bit. And for this dot, I'm stretching it. The tricky part here is that the lines and dots that are in the middle of the arc shape are bigger. I mean the distance is longer. So you have to reduce or stretching them faster. If you have finished transforming a line into a dot or a dot into a line before the others, it does not matter. You just have to redo its final state. So I have to repeat this process until each dots and lines got to their final state. And voila, now I can hide my arc guide layer. I'm going to reduce the opacity of my lettering guide layer to 50% so that I can disable the onion skin frame. Now I redraw my lettering on each rays of light frame. And I repeat this process for each frame. And voila, it's done. And you can increase or decrease the speed of the animation if you want. I like 8 frames per second. Well, if you find this tutorial helpful, the best thing you can do to support me is to click on the like button and to subscribe to my channel to learn more about lettering on the iPad. So until the next tutorial, bonsoir!